others as well. Dominique Ziegler joins us on 365 Sports. Dominique, thank you so much for your time. I know you're just getting out of class and doing what you do, thank goodness, with the education. What was your reaction and what are your thoughts about the legacy of Guy Morris for you?
Oh, my reaction is just like anybody else's, not just from the Baylor family, the Morris family, but, even the reaction from the NFL. You hate to see a loved one, leave this earth. And unfortunately, he's not with us. But I will say that I think he's in a better place just because he's been battling with Alzheimer's for a while, and you could physically see it on him. And so I'm just glad that Coach isn't hurting him.
Dominique, you were part of probably his greatest moment at Baylor. You caught that 2-point conversion. What were his particular emotions in that moment?
Oh, it's funny you asked that because I can remember vividly catching the touchdown and then going over to the sideline and him saying, "Zig, come on, let's get back on the field. We're going for 2." And I looked and I'm like, oh, that means we're trying to win the game right here. So, in my mind, as soon as he said that, I was all for it. It was a great call by him wanting to go for 2 and end it now because, anytime you're the underdog already and you have a ranked opponent at your house, in overtime already, you want to kind of go ahead and send a knockout blow, and we were able to do that, and it was a great call by Coach Moore.
Yeah, and Paul mentioned this, perhaps the best win in his time at Baylor. You guys didn't win a lot. That's obvious. Mm-hmm. But what did he teach you about life and winning there?
Oh, I mean, as a coach, and you hate that you're not able to win a lot, because as a coach, that's your job. That's what you're paid to do. But when it's all said and done, your job is to make better men. And that's the first and foremost thing that he always preached was, I'm here to make better men, be able to have a man who comes in from a broken home and understands that when you create your legacy, that we're trying to make you to where you don't have a broken home. And then unfortunately, we had quite a few of those coming in, from broken home situations, men that didn't have the chance to become men by male figures in their lives. And Coach Morris was one of that to plenty of us on the team. A father figure. He would have us over for steak nights with the team. Showing us what it's like to raise daughters of his, how it is to be a man to raise daughters. So it was plenty that he was able to teach us besides the X's and O's, and most importantly, it was just becoming a man and standing on your own too.
Dominique Ziegler, former Baylor wide receiver, with us on 365 Sports.
Dominique, you and Sean Bell in that class that kind of came in, you were kind of the transitional group. And I know that you played with Coach Briles as well between those eras of Baylor football. What would you say that Coach Morris brought as far as organization and structure to a place that didn't really have any, even though, his record was not going to be talked about in the annals of Baylor history, but there were things off the field that he did really well?
I think he brought toughness and he brought accountability, coming in from Kentucky, he had some success there. And then ultimately, playing 15 years in the NFL, which everyone who strives to, ends up getting a scholarship and going to college, that's what their ultimate goal is to go to the NFL. So he was able to, bring the knowledge from the highest point and let people know exactly what it takes to get there and bring, coaches in like Coach Jackson who have been, who played 13, 14 years in the league, and just, help us understand what it takes, not just to get there, but to stay there. And it all starts with accountability. In the NFL, you're going to get fined for every little thing, So when you're at class, when you're supposed to be at class and you're not there, if this was the NFL, you would get fined. So let's just be accountable. He was always talking about accountability because, like I said, again, he was coming, from a place where you were held accountable at all times. And the way you were held accountable by was taking money from your pocket. He wanted to make sure if anybody who had that chance to make it to the NFL, he wanted to make sure that you were able to always keep the most amount of money by not doing anything foolish, getting fines because you worked hard for that money. So don't give it away by being late, doing things you're not supposed to do. So just holding each other accountable.
Dominique, he played in the NFL for 15 years at a position like the offensive line, any type of career in the NFL. And it's not easy, but to be 15 years as an offensive lineman in the NFL, that means you have to be tough and probably a little grouchy, but he seemed to be kind of a teddy bear of a man. How would you describe him?
Yeah, I think the teddy bearness came from being a father of daughters. Whenever you have some daughters, they're going to bring that out in you. So whenever we were able to see him with his children and interact with them, you would always see the teddy bear. Whenever he was out on the field, sometimes you would be like, "Can I approach Coach Morris?" Just because of the simple fact it's an offensive lineman demeanor. It's all about getting the job done. No horseplay. So just his demeanor, sometimes you would think that you wouldn't be able to approach him, but he was a very approachable person. We've talked many of times, just one-on-one conversations. And it's just, getting to know him as a person because, like I said, he's always had to have that seal of armor being an offensive lineman and playing in the league for 15 years that he's used to showing so much toughness that it was just on his face at all times. But deep down inside, he was a nice man.
You guys had kind of you had Bill Bradley, who's been sending us a bunch of pictures today, who is one of the crazy funniest people I've ever met in my life.
Yes,
you had this really amazing, different kind of personalities on that staff. What was it like to see those coaches kind of gel together?
Oh, it was a fun time to be around. Again, yes, granted, we didn't win as many games as we would like to, but they always kept us in high spirits. And they kept us, in terms of being around there, always wanting us to come back there. It was never a moment where you're just like, man, I just can't wait to get out of here. And that's a tribute to the coaching staff. When you're in dark times, being able to bring the light out, and that coaching staff was able to do that. With Rooster in terms of Coach McGriff, Coach Jackson, Coach Bradley, as you said, Coach Bradley was he was a character. You had Coach McGriff, who was we called him Sergeant Slaughter sometimes. I mean, he was no nonsense, but it was no nonsense in a funny way. So that coaching staff was able to be able to have fun, but also get down to business as well.
When so many reflect back on the win against A&M, the play and all that, and what he said to you guys on the sideline, what was the rest of that day like after the game ended?
Oh man, I can remember, coming off because, as we've already stated, unfortunately we weren't allowed. We didn't win a lot of games, right? But when we won that game, it almost felt just surreal, just because that's what every athlete is, coming to college for. Big time games, Halloween. You get a big upset. Now you have ESPN. You're wanting to interview you. You have your highlights being shown on SportsCenter. You have people making top 10 plays. The next day you see it on articles. So just that whole moment was surreal. Just because you come to Division I football and you want to play in big games, and the more you win, the bigger the game is. So we were able to win that big game, and now it's just let's keep it going. But big games are another weekend in Baylor football.
Dominique, do you remember the last time you saw Coach?
The last time I seen Coach was, I want to say probably 2013, 2012 time frame. So it's almost been about a decade.
What did you guys talk
about? It was around the Texas A&M Commerce. What we talked about? We just talked about, wanting to win more games like any other person who wasn't able to win enough. We felt like we had some pieces to be able to win some games. We just, needed maybe a couple more, and just wanting to be able to fulfill that. He's saying, I'm sorry about not being able to take us to bowl games. And I say, ultimately, yes, you are the X's and O's, but it's our job to fulfill that. And we didn't get the job done. So, it was just one of those deals where we were just both talking about how we wish we could have done more because, you miss those times.
Dominique, the Baylor football, Brigham Young coming up this week in Provo. You know what they did last year. It's been a strange 10 years because of the ups and downs. Your thoughts about what Dave Aranda's done at Baylor?
Oh, it's been amazing. He's been able to go in there, from the sideline, in terms of sideline watching it from the TV. He almost looks like a no-nonsense type of guy, too, because, you don't know if he's smiling. You don't know if he's serious. I mean, it's a straight face. And he's all about business, but you can tell that inside that locker room and inside the meeting rooms, they're having a bunch of fun because it shows out there on the field. Everybody's excited on big plays. even small plays that seem small to a normal football eye, but is big in the details of the game. Everybody's clapping each other up and celebrating. So you can tell that's just the atmosphere that he's brought. And again, we've had ups and downs within these past 6 years, but to me, with Coach Aranda, it looks like the ups are going to be here for a while.
So you're still at Killeen High, right?
Yes, sir. I'm at Killeen High, coaching the girls track, and we're in cross country season right now, and trying to make sure now my job, instead of like I said with Coach Morris, my job now is to make sure that my young girls are being able to not only just win at what they do, but be able to become young women in life and understand what it is to be a woman, just from having other women on our staff that have helped me, grow them into young women and be great to society.
That's awesome. How has the school district changed, obviously, with the addition of Chaparral, and what school may have been affected the most by that?
Well, in our situation, we weren't affected as much just because we're on a different side of town and we're kind of landlocked. Everything is growing out towards 190. So Ellison was affected some, and Harker Heights lost a couple kids. But we weren't affected as much. I look at it as a nice job for us because we get to go to 5A. And don't get me wrong, I like being in 6A and playing, all of the toughest teams. But we were in a bye district with DeSoto and Duncanville and Cedar Hill. So our first round of the playoffs, it didn't matter what sport it was, we're going against, the best in the state. And yes, we may have some really talented kids here, but the problem is when you get to the 2s and the 3s, when your top guys are winded or hurt or something, maybe you just don't have enough depth. So, numbers matter, and I felt like we should have been 5A a couple years ago. We were always been, 50 people away from being 5A. So when you're going into, it matters having 2,100 kids versus 4,000 kids, because when you have 4,000 kids, you got a couple more guys you can pick from the team and help the team out.
So did you feel sorry for Midway being in the district with Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar?
As soon as I seen that they got in that district, as much success as Midway has had over the years, I knew it was going to be tough for them just because of the style of play that Duncanville and DeSoto and those guys play. I'm not saying that I felt too sorry for them because, hey, they just played in the state championship and they got a lot of winning out of these last few years, so they took some lumps, and I'm pretty sure that Midway and that staff will get them boys back on the right path.
Dominique, thanks for reminiscing about someone who meant a lot to you and a lot of people, and Guy Morris, the former Baylor coach. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
That's Dominique Ziegler, former receiver, the moment. And 35-34, Sean Bell, quarterback coach for Baylor, threw the touchdown and then the two-point conversion to beat a ranked A&M team.
Yeah, I haven't had much to say at all about Guy Morris, and that's